Welcome to another episode of the Tower 26 Beer Race Podcast. I'm Jim here with Coach Gerry Rodriguez. Coach, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing? That was a good intro.
You know what? It's controlled, but it's not too excited because we're still getting through this. We're still navigating through the tough times of the fires, and some other things are popping up, but we're persevering like a good endurance sport athlete does.
You know what? It's interesting. Being in endurance sport, we are better trained and equipped for managing disasters like this.
Yeah.
And our members have been so resilient, sad, but resilient, looking forward to our workouts, seeing the community. But they also have perspective. They know what it's like to go through something that's challenging and difficult. So it's been helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Sport helps.
That's what I do. I keep relating it to an Ironman. Say, hey, you don't give up halfway. You keep persevering. You persevere through the adversity, and we'll come out stronger in the end. So, but the support we've been getting from the community, and we're going to get into the education stuff that we always get into. We're going to hem and haw about what we always hem and haw, but we want to get at this at the outset. The community support that we've had from around the globe it's just outstanding, and it's amazing to see what people do and how they can come together in times like this.
No, it has been extraordinary. And to your point, a lot of friends and former members, right? And many sponsors, or I would say sponsors, companies that are truly interested in our well-being rather than trying to have us utilize their products.
Yeah, no, and that's true. I've got notes around the globe. I mean, one of the first companies to reach out was Win Republic.
Yes.
And Katie over Win Republic, they sent bags to our athletes. I brought one here. This is Brian Massey's. I'm actually going to probably open it and take all this stuff in here from Brian. But the amount of stuff that they sent in here right away. It was one of the first companies to contact us, and every athlete that lost everything, she sent a bag, and this thing's jammed full. So Win Republic, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
All you guys over there, thanks for supporting. I know Pedal Mafia was giving out a bunch of stuff at their store. Aronson went there after the swim on Saturday, loaded up. But all these different companies are really supporting the cause.
And who's Pedal Mafia?
Pedal Mafia is actually our clothing supplier. Yeah. Win Republic isn't our clothing supplier. They just wanted to help athletes in need, and they really came through. But Pedal Mafia is who supports our kits, and we get all of our kits and our cycling gear through. So they gave out through their store. They gave our athletes a bunch of stuff. But Coeur Kebby, who is a longtime Tower 26 athlete, she put something together. You want to talk about that for a second?
Well, I think you've corresponded with her more than I have, but she's doing a ride. She was doing a ride for her core athletes for some fundraiser, and then this disaster occurred. And I think they initially have changed maybe they're adding another ride, but they're using this ride. And I don't have the date. Is it next week?
So it's Saturday. Okay. Cabby with Coeur Sports, longtime Tower 26 athlete.
She's the owner, correct?
The owner of Coeur Sports put together a charity ride for our athletes who lost so much in the fire. And at CoeurSports.com, you can sign up for it. It's 6 to 9 a.m. on Saturday. Like I said, CoeurSports.com. It's the first page. Sign up for the charity ride. And actually, Mike Riley just wrote me. Mike Riley, the voice of Ironman, just wrote me and said, hey, can I get a hat? I'm going to be on the ride. I want a Tower 26 hat to wear on the ride. So when I talk, everybody can see that I'm supporting the cause.
Are you going to send him one of your used sweaty hats that you have? Because I don't think we have a new one.
The thing is totally nasty. And he's going to have it tomorrow. So we actually, Greenwich sent the hat that she's been using, send it to him. And that's the hat he's going to be wearing. So we get the job done. So thanks to Coeur and Kebby and join. My face is going to be on there. Gerry, are you going to get on there and do a little hemming and hawing?
What time you said? 6 to 9?
6. You're not up at 6.
I'm coaching a workout.
Yeah, you're not up. But we'll get on there and we'll have some fun with that. So thanks to Kebby and Coeur Sports for putting that together. What else? Who else have you heard from, Gerry?
I spoke to Scott at Form, and do we have that image to show? Or I don't know if we can show it, but I am going to boast. It's not my thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I am going to proudly state that I am at 999,000 yards.
You don't leave the house without Form. You go for walks, you're wearing your Form goggles.
And in fact, let me just check. You able to flip onto my?
Let me switch it over.
I don't know if you can.
Let's see if this thing.
Let's see if this works.
It's been giving me upside down stuff. So what are you going to show? You're going to show
just my screen.
You're going to show your
my screen of I took a screenshot of my Form goggle. There you go.
There it is.
999,000 yards.
That's your Form goggles. The thing is, here's the thing. It's 999,000 yards, but you got to get 100,000 Is that right?
No, a million.
No.
A million.
How many more yards do you need to get a million? 1,000
It's
more
just
yards.
a few more yards.
Yeah,
to
that's
get
my
to
math
the-
at work right now. But so we're showing, if you're listening at home, Gerry, 999,000 yards has been logged on his Form goggles. So,
Since I've gotten those goggles, I have only a handful of times, Jim, have I used one of my other goggles, because
Yeah.
I just like shutting the world off. It's my peace time. I swim alone because I'm coaching at all the group sessions, and I shut the world off and I just think about you guys coaching and our athletes and things that they do, and I try different things swimming. But the main thing, once I'm doing into my own thing, I'm using all the metrics in the goggle. I love them. For me, it's total engagement.
and as a coach, I mean, Form doesn't sponsor the podcast yet, but
I did ask Scott about that, by the way.
so we're going to get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you're not wearing your forms, you may as well not even swim. You get to the pool, you don't have them, you go home. It doesn't count.
I guess when I first set up my form goggle, I connected it to what's that thing? If you haven't done a workout, it's Strava.
Strava.
And I don't go into Strava, but apparently I have an account on Strava, and I set my form goggle to Strava. So it's on Strava that I am using my form. So close to 1 million yards. So come join me, guys. The Million Yard Club.
We should live stream the millionth yard. We should somehow. We have way over 1 million downloads on this, but we should live stream the millionth yard.
So I'm like at 99,500 yards or something like that. So I was talking to Scott, and Scott's the marketing director. I believe that's his title, right?
Yeah.
I think. Director of sales, something like that, at Form. And we were chatting about helping our athletes and so on. And I told him about my 999,500 yards, and he said, all right, you're going to do a 5,000-yard workout as your next one? I go, no, I'm going to do a 501-yard workout.
Do the minimum, man. Just hit what you have to hit and get out of there.
Yeah.
So what did we talk about the last episode, Gerry? What did we get into?
Well, we did a bunch of, chatting on our conditions here locally and members being impacted by the fires and so on. And then we went into, from a technical standpoint, we went into propulsion. Remember, under our banner of technical improvement, triathlon technical improvement, there are 3 categories: tautness, the foundation; alignment, next, which covers the majority of mistakes in triathlon swimming. That's where the bulk of mistakes occur, about 80% on their alignment. And then finally at the top end, propulsion. And we reviewed propulsion, the stroke setup, and the power phase, accelerated directional force with acceleration.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And you gave some great, on our YouTube, which we're streaming live on YouTube right now, you gave some good examples. You stood up and showed how you should set up, how you should apply the force to the water. So that was a really good information. I got a lot of great feedback on athletes who just, like we said, a lot of athletes open the door here. They don't get that elbow up and really get into those big lat muscles, which is what you should be using when you're pulling that water front to back.
And, we can overcomplicate propulsion, right?
Yep.
Because, there's so much information out in the marketplace, and you go back and you think of old school swimming in my era, which is not that it's incorrect, but there are many aspects of the swimming pull and push beneath the surface. There's something called the S-pull, and which basically means sort of a feathering out of the hand and a feathering back in and then back out again. And so we can break the pull and push phase down into a lot of segments. But basically, at the end of the day, almost all the athletes that we're coaching, it's less than 1 second from the time you enter the water till your hand exits. It's less than a second.
Right.
So we got to distill this down into some bite-size portions that a user can consume and make it super simple. And you nail those 2 components down, which is the setup and then the propulsive phase, directional force, and I think you got 90% of it.
Yeah. No, and that's what a lot of athletes don't realize. They just think move your arm front to back and you're going to go forward, but it's how you move your arm, how you get the elbow up, how you engage the muscles. It's all this intricacies. And we have a 2 p.m. call every Tuesday, and I thought it was interesting what you said yesterday. I mean, you've been swimming since you've been 5 years old at the most elite levels, and you said yesterday that every single length, every single stroke, your mind is totally focused on how you're moving, counting strokes, a different aspect of your stroke. So someone like you, as accomplished as you are, even you, constantly running through those check-in points in your mind.
But I think that's training, right? That's my background of being present from the time I was a little kid swimming. So I'm fortunate that way, and it's carried forth into when I coach. As you know, I don't really like to talk to anybody on the pool deck, and it's not that I'm antisocial. Well, I guess some people probably think I'm antisocial, but I just want to lock in on what I'm doing, and I suppose I'm not good at multitasking.
Well, it is antisocial, but the thing is, like, you get like when you're swimming or when you're training, when you're on deck, you get into a groove, you get into a flow. It's like a symphony, right? You're right here, wow. You got one hand doing this, other hand doing this. You're working this lane. So when someone comes up to you and starts to talk to you about O'Driscoll starts to talk to you about what's going on after the workout or what's going on with this person after, hey, I got to focus here. I'm counting strokes here. I'm counting times here. It's a lot going on, so I couldn't agree more.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I get disconnected for that moment, and then it takes me a while to get back, reconnected at the right spot. So I generally don't like being bothered on the pool deck during a workout, typically. With our athletes, it's different, because at times we pull them out of the workout and do things and demonstrate and so on. But and it's the same for when I'm swimming, from the time I was a kid all the way through now. I like to empty my mind of everything else.
Yep.
And in fact, when things enter my mind, other than what I'm doing, I don't have a great session.
Yeah.
Because I'm letting other things and the normal things of life enter, the normal stresses that we all have.
Yeah.
I don't want that in there. I want my hour of solitude.
Yep, that's our time. And that's what we've been focusing on with our athletes who lost so much in the fires is, sure, you could deal with insurance, deal with rebuilding, deal with buying everything that you lost, but you need to take time for yourself. You have to get out. You have to train, whether it's swimming, biking, running, lifting weights, doing yoga, doing headspace meditation. There's got to be time built into the day where you're letting yourself release all that stress and having a little time to yourself.
You're right. And you know what, Jim? It's actually insane. 3 more athletes yesterday that I spoke with that have... 1, lost their homes. 2, home partially destroyed but livable. And the 3rd one, home is fine, but the point is no one can get into Pacific Palisades.
Yeah.
In fact, you could try, but there's apparently a 4-hour lineup because you have to be taken in by security, right? Yeah. So it's been it's just an awful experience for everybody right now.
Yeah, I was talking to Conan yesterday, and he's not going to get back into his house for 4 months. The fire didn't burn his house. It burned up to the fence. But he's got a big, leeway between his fence and his house. There's a big grassy area, so it burned up to the fence. But because of all the smoke damage and as much of
Conan,
that, Conan O'Brien, the smoke got into the house, got into the vents. So all the bedding, all the carpets, everything needs to be decontaminated, and I'm sure it just smells like smoke and ash to the 10th degree in that house. So, and that's just one example. I mean, the houses that are standing, sure, they're standing, but the amount of remediation that has to be done is that the right word? Remediation?
If you say so.
Before they can get back in. I mean, that's just as, that's just as traumatic. So, or pretty traumatic. I mean, maybe not just as traumatic. At least they have their house. But yeah, so that being said, what are we going to talk about this episode?
Well, I want to go through, we have 5 phases to our plan, and I think this is educational for athletes, coaches also, but for athletes that are on your own or wondering how do you set up a proper season for optimizing your performance. We go through a handful of phases within a year. We just completed phase 1, and phase 1 is our technical phase, right? It's our recovery phase, recovery and technique phase. And that typically starts right after the last of the Ironman World Championship events. And then we start backing down on our training. Now, there's still athletes who have races within our plan, and they continue to emphasize their training. But for the majority of us, we start de-emphasizing training. Volume goes down, intensity goes down, but technique development and improvement goes up. So that becomes the bullseye, the emphasis during our first phase. Our first phase of a season actually starts the prior year. So for 2025 that we're in right now, phase 1 started in October of 2024.
Yep.
So we just wrapped that phase up last week, and a week and a half ago, I should say, and we started our new phase. And I wish I was smart as Coach Jack.
Jack is a smart guy. I mean, he is a scientist, though, a doctor.
Coach Jack, when we named these phases, this particular phase that we're into right now, I call it the foundation phase. You can call it your training phase, your base building phase, your aerobic phase, right? There are all sorts of names that athletes and coaches like to give to phases where they do their sort of big platform of training, right?
Yep.
And Jack has had the perfect word, I think, for it: capacity building. Mm-hmm. This is capacity building phase, and I'd love to have Jack come on and talk about his interpretation of. We should do that sometime.
Yeah, we'll find out a way to get him at the table.
Yeah.
We'll make room for him.
And he shows an image of a freeway, a big fat freeway with off ramps and on ramps coming on, and he looks at it as building out the capacity, how you would build out a freeway with all the entries and exits and the big portion of the freeway, as building out your system.
Yep.
Right, your training system, your aerobic system, your anaerobic system, your power system. You're building out resilience, building out all the different components that we work on over the next, multiple training weeks, right? And so we roll into this phase right now. We started last week. We're in week 2 of this phase. Let's just call it, for Jack's term, our capacity building phase, our foundation phase, and we run 3-week cycles.
Yep.
Week 1, week 2, a little bit more elevated. Week 3, elevated again. So think of that as a stair step. Week 1, week 2, week 3. And then we restart week 1, but a little higher than the prior week 1. Week 2, week 3. And then another 3-week cycle. And then another 3-week cycle. And depending on a few elements, we decide if we go through 5 or 6 of those cycles, right? But we go through a minimum of 4, usually 5, sometimes 6. And we're building capacity and going through our training protocols of Tower 26 for swim, bike, and run, which is different than others, which I think we should discuss a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into that. But let's talk about this real quick. We have a sponsor coming on board. Gerry, we're going to get more detail in a bit, but Precision Hydration is coming on as a sponsor of this show.
Congratulations.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, we're going to talk about the capacity building phase, but we want to bring this up right now because this is going to be necessary when we start building that volume, because I think a lot of athletes don't take in nutrition in the swim. You say, okay, I don't race with nutrition. I'm not going to take it in the swim, but you guys got to think about, first off, a lot of times you're swimming a lot more yards than you're going to race. Also, you have to live life, so you got to go train. You probably got to run that day also. Maybe you have to bike that day also.
And that's your key thing.
If you're totally depleting yourself in the swim, you're not going to be able to live the rest of your day. So we have to make sure we stay on top of that. Bringing on Precision, you guys, we've had Andy Blow, the CEO, owner of Precision, on here a few times already. The guy knows his stuff, but I started using this product a couple years ago, and I saw a change in my performance like that. And we're not just hawking goods that give us money and say, hey, go sell our stuff. We only bring on stuff that we totally believe in. And that was a big point. We went to them, and me and Andy and Gerry spoke, and we said, hey, how about you guys come on? We really believe in your product, and let's start talking a little bit more about it.
Well, the value, by the way, of fueling during your swim segment, because many folks swim in the morning, especially at Tower 26.
Right.
If we're only living in the moment, right, you're not really preparing yourself for what may come later on in the day. So it is important, especially during our sessions, because our A sessions are bulkier sessions, right? So it's easy to just think I'm in the water, I'm feeling fine, but you do have to think about what's coming later in the afternoon.
Right, and we want to get the thing. What I always say in our sessions, especially as the volume grows, because we're going to get into that in a second, but you start out, you're fresh. You have your fuel in your system from the morning breakfast or whatever you ate before, but as you increase the distance, and we always build effort as we go throughout these swims. You increase that intensity, you burn more and more glycogen. That glycogen comes down, you have less to rely on. So if you're not replenishing that as you go through the swim, you're not going to be able to finish that swim or that bike or that run with the quality or the intensity that you could if you were topped off. So you're not getting as much out of the workout. So we got to stay on top of that nutrition as you go through these swim, bikes, and runs, and never say, I'm just going to do a fasted workout here, because you're not getting the most out of your body if you are.
It would be, I think, Jim, it would be helpful, and we're totally sidebarring here. I didn't realize you were going to bring that up, but it would be helpful to actually have Andy Blow's the CEO, to have Andy on, or whomever he deems necessary, maybe as chief scientist, because I think it would be helpful to our audience to talk about the why.
Yeah.
Why we should actually take in this product at particular times, and what's the quantity, what's the dosage, right? For whether it's male, female, weight of athlete, duration of activity, right?
Yep.
So
totally.
Let's plan on that.
It's a lot of stuff. We'll get them on there, but yeah, and that's what makes them different. That's why I really see the benefits of this product, Precision Hydration, is because it gets to your system. When I actually used to sell, here's another sidebar off as a sidebar. I used to sell dermatology products to doctors, to dermatologists.
why your skin is
that
so
was my
beautiful,
job. Yeah, look at this beautiful, silky, soft, smooth skin. Ask my wife; she won't tell you that. But I used to do this, and we all sold the same crap. All of us dermatology reps sold the same crap. Tretinoin, right? You see a zit, you put a little thing on it, and you put it on there. The active ingredient is called tretinoin. Right? We've all had tretinoin. Now my other sidebar off the sidebar is screw all that stuff. Go take Accutane. If your kid has acne, give them Accutane. Right? So that's the sidebar. But back up to tretinoin, one sidebar off the second sidebar. It's not about the active ingredient. It's how it gets into your skin. Right? So what are you doing over there?
I don't know. I was moving my.
Yeah, so it's how it gets to your skin, right? So you got gels, you got creams, you have whatever you have. You have these different ways it gets to the skin. What makes it truly effective is what that vehicle is, because it's all the same active ingredient.
Oh, so what transports
what moves from the skin into the system with the greatest of ease. It all depended on, it depends on what that vehicle is. Back it up to the first sidebar. Precision hydration has the best vehicle. It gets into your system and gets into your system and gets to your bloodstream, which feeds the muscles with the greatest of ease of any product I've ever used. So that's my first sidebar.
Of the second
sidebar that I'm laying out there. So go to precisionhydration.com, check that out. We'll have a discount code for you next show. I'll put it in the show notes as well. I'm talking to him about right now, but we just want to get out there. Thanks for you guys coming on board. And like I said, we'll get Andy and maybe that chief science officer, CSO. Is that what it's called?
Sure.
We'll get him or her on the show soon enough.
Well, we'll make it up. You're the one. You make things up and people.
Hey,
follow,
I'm the show host. You're learning this. You make stuff up, they believe it. Doesn't make a difference what we say. So some might call it fake news, but that's a different topic. So Jared, so let's talk a little bit about this capacity foundation building phase.
Yeah, let's sort of review what we do at least, right? And for instance, within this first 3-week phase, first 3 weeks of this phase, everyone's eager. The new year has started. You want to get training going. I recognize it's a little bit easier in warmer climates like ours.
Yeah.
Many folks in colder climates, they get started a little bit later, March, April, but we're going. We get going now, right?
Yep.
And there's a certain eagerness to get started, and folks want to go. They want to get going and start training hard, but we have to remind our athletes, this is last week, I remember, guys, this is week 1 of our first 3-week phase of multiple 3-week phases to come. We're at the beginning of the season here. So it's about restraint. It's about being careful. It's about being pragmatic, right?
And that's what I love about this phase of training. You're not in a rush to really press the effort to the nth degree, right? We got to build the base, build the foundation. Sure, we'll vary the efforts, but you can be relaxed. It's not like you have to have the pedal down, boom, every stroke of every length. You can take your time, build into it, build into those efforts.
And to your point, we have certain workouts that we deem as foundation workouts, right? So within the Tower 26 methodology, we do have, within each week, there are 4 workouts on the swim side, 2 A workouts, a B workout, we call that a supporting workout, and then a C session, a recovery workout. So if you only had 2 opportunities to swim each week, that's it, you would do the 2 A workouts. No matter what day it is, that's what you would do. And then you have a 3rd opportunity to do the B session and then the C session. Within those A sessions, though, during this phase and during these first 3 weeks, we will have certain A sessions, and we did one yesterday, or today actually. Yesterday in one of our other locations, today locally here at El Segundo. This is a repeating workout, and what that means is this particular workout that we did, which is now in week 2, we're going to repeat this workout in week 2 during the second 3-week phase. And we'll repeat the workout again week 2 in the third 3-week cycle, and again in the fourth 3-week cycle. Now, the workout itself, the ingredients of the workout may change slightly. The complexion may change. As an example, I'm making something up. If we did 10 times 100, in the second 3-week cycle, we may do 12 of them. In the third, we may do 15 as an example. But we're going to come back and do the same complexion from the perspective of what the demand is, the effort in particular, and how much rest, what system we're working, okay? We may just increase the volume slightly every 3 weeks. So that repeating workout is a way to map and measure progress every 3 weeks.
Yep.
And one of the ways we map that is we talked about it earlier, actually. You didn't know you were leading. It was leading what you were doing.
I know. Everything I'm doing, I know what I'm doing. I always plan for this stuff.
When we're talking about being present within your workouts, right?
Yeah.
Totally present. So you marry an effort, the output that you're going, to a feeling. What does that feel like here and here? What does that feel like? To a yield, a performance, a time. What was the time? So 10 100ths. You went at 80% effort, as an example. That felt somewhat comfortable, however you want to use your words to describe it. And then my time was 1 minute and 45 seconds. And we repeat those over and over and over. And we want to remember all of those components, those outcomes. So the next 3 weeks, and we want to record it. I think it's even good to keep a log on this. And 3 weeks later, we'll be doing the workout, a similar version to it, maybe slightly higher in volume, maybe, but we'll repeat it.
Yep.
So we'll have a handful of these repeatable workouts within each 3-week cycle. They may be only 2 or 3 of them. And every 3 weeks, they get repeated as we go through all of these 3-week.
So, and all these workouts, you see different effort levels, right? So
Yes.
when I lead the rides every Tuesday and Thursday on Zwift, we have our team ride every Tuesday, Thursday at 5:45 a.m. We had 40, 50, 60 people on that ride. I coach it on Zoom. Me and the Tower 26 coaches, or Tower 26 coaches and I don't know, Audra would tell me how to say that. But we coach that on Tuesday and Thursday morning, right? So we have the FTP. The FTP is the hardest maintainable effort for an hour. If that athlete went and rode for an hour as hard as they could and maintain it for that amount of time, that's their FTP.
So for swimming folks,
I'm getting there. Hold on, I'm getting there. Then we take 90%, 80%, 70%, and we know the exact wattage at 70% of the FTP. So if my FTP is 200, it's not. My FTP is like 400, Jared, but let's just take 200. So 70% is, right, 20, 20, 20, 60, it's 140. So you know, okay, 140 is my 70% effort. Now go. Where were you going?
140 watts?
140 watts. So 200 is my FTP, 70% is 140, 80% is 160, 90% is 180.
What does FTP stand for?
Functional threshold power.
That's
so
it.
everything below FTP is in the presence of oxygen. Above is anaerobic. So without oxygen, we'll talk about that later. That's a different topic. But now, swimming, you don't have that direct feedback. I can't say, what's my wattage at 70% effort? I know you're going to get to this when you so rudely cut me off, but how do I know my 70% effort? How do I know these different efforts that you're spitting out at coaching.tower26.com for this A, B, C sessions?
Well, we don't, right? And that's the thing for many athletes. That's why we're in this particular first 3-week cycle, and we're teaching pacing, because many triathletes, by the way, many of them don't come from an athletic background. They started the sport, got into sport as adults, especially the swim segment of it, and pacing is a bit foreign. And we have to teach pacing because this is an endurance sport, even at the shortest race. Take the shortest race in triathlon, a sprint. It's still 40, 50 minutes, an hour, a sprint race. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's an endurance event. In swimming, the 1,500-meter race at the Olympics, it's called a long-distance event. It's a 15-minute race. Yeah. They call that a long-distance event, an endurance event. Triathlon, the sprints are not even 15 minutes long. They're longer. So pacing is a critical component of learning, right?
Yeah.
So we spend in these first few weeks, we're spending a fair amount of time going through how to pace smartly.
Oh my God! The number one thing a newer swimmer to Tower 26, they come on deck and I say, "Oh, what's your speed per 100 if you just went for a moderate 100?" Just to figure out, oh, I only have one speed. I'm telling you, it's 9 times out of 10 a first-time swimmer that comes on deck and I'm talking to where they should go, which lane they should go in. Oh, what's your speed per 100? I only have one speed. That's such a typical response.
Right, and we're there to train and help train them to help develop other gears so you can have different outputs. So I think this brings up an interesting conversation I think we should have for the audience. And we haven't talked about this yet, so I'd be curious to get your take on this. But I'm going to lead you a little bit.
If I don't have a take, I'll make it up. I'll come up with something.
So there is a lot of chatter in the market, and there's some key podcast hosts that are interviewing known scientists, okay? And I'm using that word carefully, scientists, not sports coaches, okay? Known scientists that are talking about training programming. And they're talking about their athletes on their professional athletes, Jim, on the types of workouts that they're doing and how much time they're spending in lower zone 2. Okay, sort of this 60 to 70% effort, and it's a lot of time. And then there's some time spent in upper zone 2, right? And I'm a little nervous about this because what's going to happen with the audience that's listening to this, if we even put this out to all of our athletes that have coaches and we provide education to, they're a little bit different because they have a filter system. The filter system is you and me and our other coaches. But most athletes who don't have coaches don't have a filter system, especially if you don't have an athletic background. So you're going to listen to what the scientist is talking about, being interviewed by an incredibly talented and well-followed podcaster of what his athletes are doing, his 2 athletes that he coaches, and are going to think this is the holy grail of coaching methodology.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this?
And that's the thing, because they're out in the public space, spewing what they're doing for these professional athletes, and we have to differentiate someone who's training 20, 25, 30 hours a week versus someone who has a full-time job, a family. We're 5, 10.
You always said it. 2 men. What is it you say? 2
men, 1 brain. 2 men, 1 brain.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah. So go for it.
No, please.
Well, and I was actually, it's funny you bring this up because I was actually I spoke about this on the ride yesterday morning. It's the exact same thing. As I said, that you can go, because we were doing 30 seconds at VO2 max effort, 30-second recovery, 10 times through, and you'd say, and I said this, I said, you'll look at pro athletes talking about what they're doing this time of year, and they're just going out and riding zone 1, zone 2 for hours at a time. That's what you'll see. That's what they're going to spew. But we only have so much time in the day, in the week. We have to get the most out of our training that we can.
Dead on.
Yep.
Dead on. You guys, a professional athlete. I remember. I'm going to take one of your notes from your book. I'm going to sidebar for a moment. I helped my wife hire a cycling coach way back when, right?
Yep.
And it came as a referral from Matt Dixon. Good, Matt was swimming with us at Tower 26. He just left. He moved up to Northern California. He started his Purple Patch. And Matt said, hey, talk to such and such. So I hired that gentleman for my wife. And my wife's she has a full-time career, okay? And in fact, her career is seasonal in the sense that it's full-time work, and then a couple times of the year, she's an accountant. A couple times of the year, it's 80-hour weeks, right? Tax deadline time. He was asking her to go out and do 4-hour rides during the week.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, not realistic. Not realistic.
Totally unrealistic. And because this is how professional cyclists train.
Yeah.
They have an opportunity, because they're not doing anything else, number one, right? And they have an opportunity to go out and train 4 hours or 5 hours or 8 hours even, ride easy, right?
Yep.
And cruise and build up this massive foundation of very low effort. Well, so our pro triathletes, the same. I'm coming off the sidebar now. Our pro triathletes are the same. Pro triathletes are training anywhere from 25 to 35 hours a week, right? And our Ironman athletes are 35 hours a week, and some are above that. That is a full-time job. That's just how much time they're actually swimming, biking, and running. Then there's strength training and so on. So 35 hours a week of training. They have an opportunity to, and should be, and can spend much more time at this lower zone level than someone who's just training 10 hours a week. And the question becomes, should the proportion that the pro athlete at their level of 35 hours a week, should that proportion be the same, meaning the proportion of time in lower zone 2, and we should, in another time, go into define lower zone 2 and upper zone 2 and all these different channels for discussion of training ranges, but lower zone 2 versus upper zone 2. Should the athlete that only has 10 hours a week be in the same proportion? In other words, if they're only spending a quarter as much time, should it still be an 80-20 ratio, as an example? Mm-hmm. And the answer is no, it shouldn't be. No, because you have to optimize your time, okay? If you want performance.
Right. Yeah, and that's what most athletes who are listening to this podcast want, that performance. But also this sport, I mean, it's noise. There's a lot of noise that drives this sport. I mean, you just go to any Ironman, figure out if it's going to rain, and all of a sudden it's a torrential downpour and it's a hurricane coming this way because the noise just builds and builds and builds and builds. Same thing goes for training. Whatever's going to get the most noise. You go watch Lionel Sanders on YouTube. He's training 50 hours a week and 50 hours in zone 2 because that's what the Norwegian method told them to do. Then everyone else is going to listen to this and say, oh, you know what? He's doing 50 hours a week. I'm going to go zone 2 for 10 hours a week in my time available. And all of a sudden you just stagnate. It's just like you're spinning your wheels. You're not getting the quality out of the training that you could be getting if you put a little more thought into the process.
You're right. And I want to make sure that the podcaster, and I haven't named names because I don't want to, but the podcaster and the interviewee, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. In fact, it's good entertainment. It's great knowledge and good science. But there are two key things. You've got to know the audience you're listening to, okay? And also be able to have a filter to take that information and distill it to your needs. And if you don't have that filter, don't do what professional triathletes are doing in their training.
Right.
They're out there 35 hours a week, and if you have 5 to 10 hours a week, your training module is going to look very differently than theirs.
Yep.
So we can't get caught up in this. And then I would tend to argue, to some extent, there's a big difference between a scientist and a coach. And if you haven't been coaching for 15, 20 years, and I'm really slow. It took me 25 years to come fairly decent at what I'm doing. Many coaches could get it done in 10 or 15 years. I wasn't that smart. It took me a long time. I'm in my 42nd year of coaching. But it took me 25 years before I sort of felt like I honed in on this thing. Yeah. And so when I listen to coaches with very low coaching experience, but high science experience, I know how to distill the information.
Yeah, and you have so much boots on the ground experience with athletes of all different ranges. I mean, you've coached professionals down to a majority of our swimmers are, beginner to novice triathletes. So you see this whole spectrum, and you see what pays the best dividends and which doesn't pay so many dividends. And that's where we come back to that swimmer that's new on deck saying, oh, I only have one speed, right? We got to work that spectrum of speeds every single workout so we're getting major quality. And that's what you're going to see in this capacity building or foundation phase of training with the Tower 26 plan is you get that whole spectrum. Sure, we're not working that top end maybe as much as we would in the race ready phase or the race prep phase, but we're definitely hitting that top end throughout each one of these sets.
And to your point, someone just swimming, since we mainly talk about swimming in this podcast, someone just swimming twice a week, which is sort of the normal for most triathletes, right? Swimming twice a week. Trust me, you don't have the luxury of giving one entire session to swimming at lower zone 2.
Oh, you always say you're one of your favorite terms is low value, right?
Total low value workout. The first time you do it, it has value. The second time it has value. By the time you get to the fourth and fifth time of doing it, that value is depreciated significantly. So now you're not optimizing your time any longer. So 2 times a week, you have to train smartly. And if you don't know how to do it, you got to find a coach that knows how to.
So we're thinking about these sets you have repeating every few weeks, right? You have the foundation set. We just did one Tuesday, right? It's the 4 800s.
Yes.
But and that's broken down different ways.
It's
right?
scaled for different levels. 4 800s for the sort of more, what would you say, level 1 athletes, more performance athletes, 4 700s, 4 600s, 4 500s.
And I didn't want to step on you. I think this is the workout of the episode today that we're going to talk about. We'll show this in a minute. But you do it different ways. It's a bunch of hundreds and some polling, then some hundreds, some polling. But I think it's great to know, okay, I'm going to do this in 4 weeks. I'm going to do this in 4 weeks. This is a baseline. Let's compare it against this. Let's compare it against this. We do the same thing on the bike, right? We have the same workout repeating every 4 weeks. And then we see how our heart rate has changed, how our power has changed. In the swimming, you can look at your times, you can know your feel, you can look at your heart rate after the fact if your devices check heart rate. But I think it's key to be in tune with the effort, like we're really focusing on what is. And I started with this and we kind of got off, but when you say I'm Gerry, I'm going to go swim 60, 65, 70% effort. What is that effort? How can you relate that effort to our listeners, to our viewers? Should that feel like?
Well, truthfully, having Jim swum since I was 7 years old up until 60, I think 61, when I'm not using form goggles. I think I started at 61 years old, all right?
Using form goggles.
Using
right.
form goggles,
Yes.
so just recently in the last couple of years. for me, it was all a matter of, I could see the time, get a time on the clock. We used to swim with analog clocks back then. Now we have digital clocks. So I always knew the time, and then we would learn pacing. Swimmers, by the way, are very, very good at pacing because 100% of swimming workouts are intervals. So you take any swimmer, you put them on a track, they don't have a running background, they can nail intervals. They may not be fast, but they can nail their interval pacing. So swimmers are the best at understanding pacing. Those are a well-profiled swim background, collegiate swimmers type thing. The next best are track athletes, and then the least are typically cyclists. But point is, so I had that relationship of knowing what effort was and what time, what the performance was and so on. But it wasn't until I got these from Scott, these form goggles, and I started using it. And there's so many wonderful metrics. So I'm able to see my heart rate, and it's the one device where heart rate is accurate, by the way. Because in swimming, you'd wear the straps, and those straps would move around when you push off the wall. They would become untethered at times. There's a lot of heart rate variability of inaccuracy. And the same thing I found on watches, right? Yeah. This is accurate. And it's a little device on your temple that it takes the heart rate off of there, and it's consistent. Heart rate, you have a performance feedback with distance per stroke, so efficiency, right? Yep. And the stroke count, number of strokes per length, and so on. So I use all of those items, but the main thing is, for me, it's feel and it's heart rate. I could look at the heart rate. I know what the heart rate generally is by feel, but that's what I use. But many folks who don't have a knowledge in sport, like you have a professional hockey background, right? But those who start as adult onset athletes, this is all new. So this is a starting place for them. It's a lot of information, so we have to start them off really, really simple. And I like to use, and you may have heard this, I like to use the horse race analogy. Have you ever heard me talk about this?
No, I don't. I bet on horses. I don't know analogies, though.
I use the horse race analogy. Since you bet on horses,
I don't bet on horses. I don't bet on anything. I always lose. You want to know how to win? Bet opposite of if I ever bet anything. My NFL team, if I say go Eagles, the Chiefs are going to win. If I say Chiefs, go Eagles. So I'm going to say go Chiefs.
Hey, buddy. You placed a big bet on your wife, and I think you won.
I won that. That's the one thing I won.
That's a big one. Okay.
You know what? Some may say it's the other way around, but I'll say I won that in that one. But
so the horse race analogy. If you ever looked at a horse race, and if you haven't, I think it's worth watching. You just YouTube any 8 furlong race or whatever it is. You see them line up in the gates. Gates are closed, and then the bell goes. You've seen a race, right?
I've seen.
Bell goes. Gates open up, and the horses are off. And the first thing you have to notice is what the jockeys are doing. The horse's instinct, and the parallel is the horse is us, the athlete, right? The horse's instinct is just to go. The jockeys are on the reins, pulling the horse back, holding them back, because the jockey needs to pace the animal for whatever the distance is. 8 furlongs is about a mile. So they're holding them back in the very beginning. Then towards the middle of the race, they're releasing the reins, and they're guiding the horse, letting the horse do its thing. And then towards the end of the race, when they typically make the last bend, or right before the last bend, you'll see them pull the whip out, and they're whipping the back of the horse. So it's hold back, release the reins, whip the horse. It's sort of 3 effort levels when you really think about it. It's teaching the horse how to pace. Yep. Well, that's what we have to teach our athletes. My son, my kids, and most of us kids, you look at your kids play, you put them on the playground, and what do? They just run crazy until they just burn out, right?
Yeah, I see it every day.
And then all of a sudden, it's just like, it happens in an instant that they just like, it's over, right? Well, when I first took my son running, Alex, I taught him pacing. I said, I want you to run from here to there and back, and it was about 200 yards down and 200 yards back. That's a long for a 5 or 6-year-old. You just want to say, Dad, I want to go run. I said, all right, we're going to do this right. And I said, I want you to run down there as slow as you can, but run back faster. And it took him 2 or 3 times to get it, but we had to teach him, right, how to put the brakes on in the beginning, the reins, and then release at the end.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted you to hit on is I think a lot of times it's not how fast you can swim, it's how easy can you swim, how slow can you swim, bring that effort way down so you can climb the ladder up to those hard. Because a lot of times, like you're saying, you get Jared Lee or Matt Marsh, these guys who are football players for life.
Those were some big boys.
Hike, go. They go. They put their head down. They go. They knock bodies around, and they go. So they get in the water. They think they do the same thing, right? It's like, okay, swim easy, and then climb the ladder from that easy. What's the easiest, slowest you can swim? That's your 60% effort. Then you go a little harder, 70, a little harder, 80. Then you get the whip out, and you start whipping that horse. That's where you're at 90. That's where you're or 100, but a lot of times it's not how high can you climb or how fast you can go. You got to recalibrate and say, how slow can I go? That's my easy.
Well said. I like it.
There you go.
Well said.
Okay, so coaching.tower26.com. We got our foundation phase. It's not too late to join. We're just into it now. Like you said, how many was it? 4, 5, 6 weeks? How long are we sticking in the foundation phase here?
Well, it's 3-week cycles, and we're going to run through, as you know, at least 4 cycles. Maybe 5. It depends on the number.
4 times 3. That's at least 12
so it's a
weeks.
minimum of 3 months of this phase, minimum.
And it gets fun. You pull out all the bags of tricks, all the tricks out as we build.
Right, we build, and you know, going through the last 3 weeks. If we started with that right now, we'd have everybody quit the sport.
Yeah, we got to build.
But you get there.
And like you said, it's structured. The way we structure it is the level 1, the pro swimmers aren't doing the same workout as level 4. We scale it accordingly. So those level 4 swimmers might be hitting 2,800 for a set, whereas the pro swimmers might be hitting 5,000, 5,500 for a set by the end.
Yeah, and think of it more, rather than think of it in terms of one way, the most common way is to think of it in terms of distance, like you just said, 2.5K or 4K, whatever it is. Think of it in terms of actually duration. You're doing an interval, 10 reps, and I mentioned earlier 10 100s, but let's make it scalable in the sense of if we had 4 different levels of athletes, professional athletes, fairly well-tuned athletes, moderate experienced athletes, and then beginning triathletes. Okay, so if we made 4 levels up, the professional athlete, and let's say we're doing 5-minute reps. Okay, 5-minute reps. So that's a time. The professional athlete would be going on 400, swimming, 400 yards or 400 meters. And then the next person a 350. And then the next person down to 300, and maybe the beginning or entree person a 200 or 250. So everyone's going on the same interval. They're leaving, say, every 5.5 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 6 minutes, whatever interval we design them to leave on. They're doing the task in 4.5 to 5 minutes-ish, right? And then we're giving some rest. But let's say they're doing the task in 5 minutes total. Everyone's coming in about the same time. The distance is varying because the fast guy and girl are getting it done quicker than the slower person, right? The beginning athlete. But the duration is the same. They're both working for the same amount of time. They're just doing less volume.
Yeah, and that's where it has to be scaled. And you say, I'm a newer swimmer. Why am I getting shortchanged? So we don't want you in the pool for 2.5 hours. If I say, someone who's doing 2.5 minute 100, I say go do 4,000. That's going to be 2-hour workout. Whereas I say a pro swimmer go do 4,000, they can do that most likely in an hour. So we got to make sure that we're, like we said earlier, we're working the quality with the time available and not totally depleting you in one workout. So then the rest of the day and any other workouts you might do you're completely spent for.
Yep. Well said.
So we got a couple videos that came in. Do we want to move into those videos?
Sure.
So remember, if you want to get in the foundation phase of training, go to coaching.tower26.com. And like we said, make sure you're fueling with precision hydration, precisionhydration.com. Thanks for supporting the show, guys. But let's get into our swim videos. We got 2 of them for this show, right?
Yep.
Thanks for sending those in. Gerry at Tower26, Gerry at Tower26.com. And who's this first one from?
So this is Keith. Keith sent this in, and here I'm going to just run this on regular speed. It's a short, super short video, which is perfect.
Keith's going to drown here. I don't see any breaths coming from Keith.
And that's exactly what I'm going to say. So 2 things, you guys. When you're doing this, make sure that you're swimming at the same effort that you would in whatever distance race you're doing. So let's say you're doing a sprint, and it's 500-meter swim. The same effort you would be your output for that 500-meter swim. If it's an Ironman, the output you'd be using for an Ironman, and then the same breathing pattern. Unfortunately, Keith here didn't breathe at all. No breath. Take a look. Head stationary. So Keith, if you want to resubmit a video, I'll be happy to help you with it. But let's just take what we have here and give Keith some quick little feedback. So Jim, how about I pause right there? What are you picking up?
What am I picking up?
Where's the right arm?
He is pulling too soon. It's like it's way outside of the channel, right? He's losing that alignment of the pole.
That's right. So remember, that's where the right arm should be entering. That's where the left hand should be entering into the water. And there is his hand all the way over outside. So really, really far outside the channel outside the alignment criteria. So that's the easiest thing to spot. So that just takes up spatial volume, right?
Yep. Well, can you stop there again? Stop at that outside where it comes out. Also, when you're too far out, have you ever tried to pull yourself out of the water with your arms way too wide? You pull yourself on the deck, and you just feel those delts turn on. You lose all that lat engagement. So if you can keep that hand under the shoulder, like we always talk about, in that channel, you're going to get those lats involved. You moving the water front to back and rely less on those small delt muscles that you're using right now, Keith.
Yep, absolutely. And then there's no underwater footage. Keith just sent us one file, but if I'll just do a quick little circle right here. You can see his hand beneath the surface here, and the trained eye, I can tell what's going on here is Keith is losing tension beneath the surface. His hand's getting soft, floppy, petting the kitty type thing.
Yeah, we don't have it underwater here, but you can see that hand moving with you. What we have to remember is you own the water. Don't let the water own you.
Right.
Keith is letting the water move his hand as opposed to keep that hand nice and sturdy.
And also you'll notice that his hand, even that right hand, is pretty far outside the channel also. So in summary here, Keith has propulsion issues and alignment issues. Now he swims, he's comfortable swimming. You can tell it's easy for him to do what he's doing. So he obviously swims enough to be really comfortable, but his tautness, his body posture is soft. It's not really firm. The arms are pretty wide out, like we were talking about, and then the generation of power beneath the surface is also soft. So Keith, let's score him, right?
Go for it. Let's hear it.
Tautness, he's a 70. Alignment, he's 55. On propulsion, he's 60. So these are
70, 55, 60. Gotcha.
Yeah. So his alignment is the one that needs the most work, right, Keith? And these are easy fixes. Most errors occur in alignment, but they're easy fixes. But if you sent me another video, Gerry with the G at Tower26, Gerry, Tower26.com, I will review an underwater video of you the next time.
So if you look at this, we're back on screen right now. But what Keith's doing is he's pulling out here, right?
Yes.
And what we like to say,
and in fact, his arm is straight.
Right.
Too. It's really
what we
wide.
like to say is make a half diamond, right? If you enter, you keep the elbow up, you make a half diamond,
Yep.
then you're keeping the hand under the shoulder, and you're getting those lats pulling that water front to back. Right now, he's here. This for the pool deck, and I was trying to pull myself up. That'd be really hard.
It's like doing push-ups with the arms.
Put your hands here, pull yourself out of the pool deck. The elbows are high. The hands are under the shoulder, and you really get in those big prime mover muscles. Not here, half diamond here. So.
And Keith, breathe.
Breathe. We want to see some breaths because that's where the most stuff happens, Gerry.
Hand me that thing right there. No matter how much of this you take, it's secondary to oxygen, right?
Yeah. No matter electrolytes, carbohydrates, oxygen's the number one fuel. So we got
Exactly.
to
All right,
breathe.
let's go to
Next one.
Sean, who used to swim with us, one of our pro athletes that we coach, Sean Jefferson, lives in Boulder, married to Holly Lawrence, another professional athlete, world champion, right? World 70.3 champion.
That's
Holly,
right.
yeah.
Holly, yeah. She reached out. She said gave her best to our athletes who are suffering from the fire. So thanks for you guys for reaching out.
Sean is coaching in Boulder, and Sean sent in a video, and I asked Sean if we could use this today, because one of the videos we had, I wasn't able to transfer the file, so that athlete who's a coach will send that in again, and we'll review it the next time. But this is Gina. This is a professional athlete, good runner, and let's do a quick little, we'll do a full speed view. That's her going by there.
Right close to the camera.
Yeah,
She's
close to the
swimming
camera.
by. Yep.
Here she is here again in slow motion, same swim, but in slower speed. This is the file that Sean sent. And then we'll get a head-on view. Here she is coming in. Yep, head on into the camera, and then it's head on into the camera in slightly slower motion. I'm not addressing any of this speed. This is the file that was sent, and then I'll work with it after. And then here's the above water.
So it's a professional triathlete.
Professional triathlete,
right?
and actually quite good.
Yep.
But no swim foundation from what I understand. I need to ask a few more questions about that. So let's take this piece by piece and make it really quick, because there's a lot we can go over here. But let's take the quick side view. My quick take on Gina. I love her setup at the very beginning here. She quickly, with that right hand, goes into that catch phase. It's not the word you want to use. We like to use setup. But look at this. She enters the water, and right there, and I'm going to quickly draw a little circle here. Look at that elbow relative to the wrist. Right immediately above the wrist, and she's quickly into her catch, right? So this is really beautifully done. And then if we took a look at right here, you'll notice beautiful straight line from fingertip to elbow, right?
Yep.
So big surface area, big surface area right here, ready to grab water. So a lot of good things going on here.
So if you're watching this at home, we're on YouTube. If you're listening at home, you can go to our YouTube channel. You can see Gerry writing on the video of Gina and Keith earlier. So
Yeah, and look at this. Elbow to fingertip. That's as straight line as you can get. That's Gina pushing water straight back. I mean, this is beautiful. And head, butt, heels at the surface. That is good tautness, right? I mean, This is beautiful. All right. Now,
wait. Can I say something though? Can I say if I saw something here, maybe Gina might? Can you back it up for 1 second? I saw something in the catch to the propulsive phase that maybe we want to think about. Is there a little elbow drop right there? Is there an elbow drop where she might be losing a little bit purchase on the water instead of keeping the elbow up as she gets close to the rib cage, breast area? She's dropping the elbow, and I think that drop of the elbow might be losing a little purchase on the water.
So
Am I seeing that?
I was trying to build some points here with Gina. Then I was going to bury her.
Okay. You're making her feel good. I just want to say, I didn't want you to go away from this view without saying, I see a little elbow drop there.
You're absolutely right. But here's beauty, Jim. I mean, look at this.
Yeah, head, butt, cheeks, heels at the surface is pretty astounding. It's great.
I mean, nice body line, straight. This is good stuff. If Gina didn't swim as a kid, this is quite extraordinary. Oh, messed that up there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, now let's clear that up.
Oh, no, here it comes.
And then let's go on to, he just sent it in slow motion, so we don't need that. Let's look now swimming into the camera. Now this is where we're going to pick up some of the stuff you were talking about. And we're going to start here with Gina, this is where your problems lie. And we'll make a quick little review here. There's all sorts of body contortions and body twisting going on in this here. The body is really contorted. Out of alignment. Misaligned.
Head's going to the left, feet are going to the right. We got a splay as she kicks.
Big splay. There's one foot, there's the other foot up there. There's a lot of breath.
But this is why it's important to get multiple camera angles, because if you just look at it from the side, you go, oh, this is beautiful, you're fine, go about your business, just keep swimming. But you can see these little things on the head on you that you couldn't see from the side.
Exactly. And now that we're looking head on, here's the head right here. The hips are further back, so this is where the contortion starts. And let's look at this head relative to the bottom of the pool. There is that black line. And the hips should be, right, they should be over there. But they're not. The body's starting to angle. So there's a lot of misalignment occurring here for Gina. So, why do I keep doing this? Okay. And then she's like you, Jim. She corrects. She's so strong. She corrects it fairly quickly, right?
Yep.
And this is the little dropped elbow that you're talking about.
Yeah, because as you see, as we spoke about with Keith's video, the hand is coming a little bit on the outside of the shoulder, so she's not getting the total torque she could be getting if she kept her hand at a little sharper angle from the elbow and got a little more torque and power per stroke.
Yeah, so here's pretty decent twisting of the body. I'll draw a line for you guys to see what we're seeing here. Right? We're arced.
Yeah, so it's like banana shape.
Yeah. So there's and what does that mean? It means she's taking up a lot of spatial volume. Although she corrects it fairly quickly, it slows you down, slows down performance. So let's now go above here and take the above view quickly.
So we're watching from above. We're watching Gina swim from above, coming at the camera.
Yep. Now the first thing I pick up here is a high head position, right? If you notice, you can see her entire swim cap. And it's very possible that could be from racing a lot, not being at the front of the pack, looking up a lot. It could be swimming from swimming in a lane, circle swimming with always somebody in front of you looking at their feet. But I would have her get to drop her head.
So head is a little too high.
Yeah,
you see you see the legs kicking out from above the water. You see a little bit of splay. You see the banana type shape to the body.
There's the misalignment right there. So here's the head. The body should be straight behind the head, right? So it's twisted up. So what does Gina need to do? Let's do the quick fix, as I told Sean. Gina, if you're listening in on this, Sean said you didn't do a lot of pulling, or you may not like a lot of pulling. We can go back to the screen for us.
See our pearly whites?
Yeah, we can see our pearly whites. The doctor's prescription, Gina, buy yourself a snorkel if you don't have one, get a pull buoy if you don't have one, get an ankle strap if you don't have one, and start using them a lot. That will help you with really, really good alignment. So you want your head, chest, belly button, hips, knees, ankles in a straight line. So when you're swimming, we're like this, and we don't have any lateral type movements. Then we'll take the snorkel off, pulling gear off, and then swim. Sean will have you swim some set after pulling and see if you're able to maintain some of that proper alignment. And then once he's able to see that, then he might be able to detect if your breathing has issues. And it's very likely because you also look like you are a head tilter, which means when you turn to breathe, I believe you're a left-sided breather, your head tilts off your spine line. So here's the spine line, it tilts before it turns. And that tilting also causes misalignment. So Sean may have to work on helping your tilt go away.
I think one thing on our 2 p.m. call yesterday that Coach Megan said was you guys kind of like swim like you're a soldier, right? Good attention,
yes.
Bodies in one straight line. So when you turn to breathe, boom, back to swimming like a soldier. You're not letting anything come out of that channel that you're swimming through.
Right. Engage the intercostals, right?
I heard that's the first time I heard that yesterday from her, to engage the intercostals. I didn't even know you could flex the intercostals, and I flex daily, and now I'm gonna start flexing those little muscles between the ribs, engage the intercostals, keep that tautness. Because what happens is with someone like Gina that's coming out of alignment, she's got so much power. And I picked on her dropping elbow a little bit, but she gets good power per stroke.
She does.
Any of that misalignment, she's just adding drag to the back half. So the more strength she's putting in isn't directly feeding that speed going forward. It's taking away from that power because of the drag she's creating. So we want to be a torpedo and not an eel.
Well said.
That's going to be my next T-shirt. Be a torpedo, not an eel. Yeah.
Bring it on. I like the shirt you had yesterday, by the way.
Good. Yeah. Tomorrow starts today.
Tomorrow
I got another
today.
T-shirt that Tower 26 is going to brand. All right, I'm coming up with this. We're going to start wearing this next time. I'm going to start a T-shirt business.
So Gina, I'm happy to do it offline with you and Sean. I mean, there are a couple other little things, but I wanted to just sort of hit two foundation pieces for you.
Okay, beautiful. So scores. So we need Gina scores. Come on.
Tautness, outstanding, 90. Alignment, 65. Propulsion, 80.
Well, that might be the best score you've ever given.
Yeah.
The generous Gerry over here today. Remember, you guys are doing a great job sending videos in. GERRY at tower26.com. We'll get those on the shows. We'll usually do 2 to 3 videos an episode. We might have some in the arsenal already for next episode, but get them in, get on the wait list, and we will get to you. Should we get into the workout of the episode? Coaching.tower26.com. Are we ready for that, Jer?
Yeah, let's go through that.
You're like a producer now doing all this stuff.
Well, you're the one changing everything over.
Right.
So, you guys, here's our workout, and this is the one we were talking about earlier. There's content at the very beginning. There's also an audio file. You notice right up at the top left-hand corner, there's a little button, and this workout has a 5.5, 6-minute audio file. Get to listen to me chatter.
You know who wants to start doing this? Coach Rach McBride wants to come and start doing the audio file, so you might get a little Rach on there. So
that would be.
But
good.
right now it's Gerry. You get Jerry's pearly or as buttery tones for each of these audio files.
And it's a summary of the workout, and we go over what's in the scope of the workout, the detail. But it's more about the philosophy of the workout and why we're doing this workout. The purpose of this, Jim, is it's not just to give somebody fish. It's to teach them how to fish, right? Once you learn the why behind what you're doing, you become better at it.
Did you just come up with that?
No, that's
Don't teach a man the fish.
You
feed him for a day. No,
yeah.
Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man. I think there's a guy back.
Teach him for a lifetime.
2000. What is it? What year is it? 2025 years ago said that.
Somebody's a couple. So there's an audio file. Then we'll go into the workout, and all the workouts have these videos in them that demonstrate his alignment that we're talking about with Gina, what to do. Snorkel, and each video goes into detail with how we want you to swim and so on. So let's take this particular workout, since we're in our foundation or capacity phase. We hit the summary button and we summarize it, and let's just go right to the main set here. So it was 4 800s basically for level 1 athletes, 4 700s, 4 600s, and then 4 500s, or maybe even 4 400s for beginners. And we broke this up during this particular phase of the season. 4 of these, the first one and the third one were pulling. The second one on the 4th rep were swimming. We put the pulling gear on, and that is, remember, pulling gear is all about proper swimming mechanics, specifically alignment, okay? So this is a perfect set for Gina, in fact. Perfect, and we took the first, let's just use it as a 600, since that's sort of the third level. We took that 600, which is rep number 1, and we broke it into 4 150s. So it was four parts to it, say 30, 40 seconds rest between each, and we did a very gentle, Jim, very gentle effort progression. So you start off easy and you tap on 5% of effort, and you make sure that the good foundation you're swimming with on number 1, while going easy, you're able to maintain it as you tap on a little bit extra stress, right?
Yep. No, notice, I mean, you get the different effort levels here, and if you want to swim 85% at the end and be able to climb that ladder, that 70% has to be super easy.
Yep. So there it is, snorkel, buoy, ankle strap. Then the second one, we took the gear off and we started swimming. And in this case, we did a series of 100. So it says 8 100s here. For this example I was using, it would be 6 100s. Or it could be 8 75s even. 15, 20 seconds rest. But now we upped effort to a fairly strong aerobic effort. And this is where we're going to get into some trouble, because there are some coaches, and especially some Northern European coaches, and some scientists that are going to want to pick a fight over this, because they're going to tell you that this is called the gray zone. And we don't want athletes training in the gray zone. Well, I would have to greatly disagree with these scientists. We're going to go at the 85% of maximum heart rate here, and we're going to try to be as consistent as we can on all 8 of these. We're learning proper pacing here, all 8 reps, trying to hit the same time. What's your time? That's your outcome, your performance. What is that time? What did it feel like at that effort of 85%, right? Now, since this is the beginning, we're still in week 2 of phase, the first 3-week phase. The third rep, round 3, we came back and put the pulling gear on, and we did it as recovery. So that was about 12-ish minutes prior of some effort, some decent performance effort, upper aerobic, and then now we did about 10 minutes of recovery. So the pulling, again, all mechanics, right? Perfect alignment, put the gear back on, get recovered, work on good mechanics, and then we wrap up the session with the final, or wrap up the main set with the final segment, the 4th rep, again, where we broke that down, same 8 100s again, and the example I was using, it was actually 6 100s, but we changed the how-to. We did the first 50 fast, so we're just dosing out slight little bursts of output. First 50 fast, the remaining rest of the distance much easier, 65, 70%. And we gave more rest.
Yep.
And that's it.
Look at all the effort.
It's still a fairly chunky set, but 50% of the set or more is done easy, but highly technical.
And look at all the efforts that you hit in that. And you know someone who hasn't listened to audio file or hasn't been reading it in detail, because they'll come to me and they'll say, I've only done 2,000. How am I supposed to do 8,000? Because they don't realize it says 4 by 800, and then this is how it's broken down. So they'll go and say, I can't do 8,000 yards. And it's 4 800s or 4 700s or 4 600s. That's it. You don't do the 4 and then that. So pay attention to the detail, pay attention to the audio file, and you'll know exactly how to do it. But Gerry, you made some amazing tacos when we were living with you for 8 days. Those tacos, homemade tacos. He didn't just take the McCormick seasoning and put it in. This guy made the tacos. It was the best tacos I've ever had in my life. Madeline still talks about the tacos, but you took all the spices, right? You put them in. What's the main spice when you're making tacos? What's the main spice that gives it that taste? Cumin? Is it cumin?
Cumin,
so let's say it's
powder.
Let's say it's cumin.
Yeah.
Cumin, you have to put the cumin in, or else if you gave me that taco, you didn't put cumin in, I would say, Gerry, let's just use the McCormick stuff, or we'll go out there. We're not. You make sure you hit all the spices. It's that, like you said, the gray zone. People, don't do the gray zone. We got to put all the ingredients into that taco if you want to go out there and swim the best you can swim, right? You can't forget any of those ingredients. You can't forget the cumin. You can't forget the 80, 85%. We got to hit that full spectrum.
And just for you coaches that are listening out there, I'm happy to be challenged on this. And
your taco or your pacing?
Both.
Okay. Now, you don't want to rival your taco. I haven't tasted a better taco in my life. So go to coaching.tower26.com. A lot of good stuff there. Gerry, I don't know if you want to touch on this right now, but there's been several. We're running pretty long, so maybe we could do this next one. But there's been several companies that haven't reached out to us regarding the donations, or regarding just giving their compassion to our athletes and to our clubs that have lost so much. Is that something we want to talk about now, or should we save that for the next episode?
I want to encourage improvement.
Yep.
By some entities. I think this is a direct message to you at USA Triathlon. I think you guys missed the ball completely on this. Whoever's supposed to do this, I think this is part of your charter.
Yeah.
And the fact that United States Masters Swimming, we're not even a Masters Swimming club, okay? We're a triathlon club, of which maybe 5% of our members are registered to United States Masters Swimming. So out of hundreds, thousand members, whatever, very few are registered to Masters Swimming. The local Masters Swimming organization contacted me on day one, Wednesday after the fires. The fires started on Tuesday. And the fact that USA Triathlon has not contacted us and seen what you can do for our athletes, I think you guys have dropped the ball here, and I think you need to step your game up. It would go a long way for all the athletes involved.
We have hundreds of triathletes. All of them have to be registered with USA Triathlon. We're a big contributor to the foundation. We've been a part of USA Triathlon, I mean, as a coach, as an athlete for years and years and years. So, let's see what happens the next couple of weeks. But we like to have some type of communication, just showing that, we care about your athletes.
Yes.
We've heard it from, like I said at the outset of the show, worldwide people have checked in. People I haven't talked to since grade school have called me and checked in. Hey, how you guys doing over there? So it'd be nice to hear from USA
part
Triathlon.
of the big picture, you guys at USA Triathlon. Here's part of the big picture. At the end of the year, you want people to re-up their membership. You're already at a 45% turnover in membership every year, right? There's a 55%-ish retention rate and 45% turnover rate. I don't think this is good business sense to start with. So many folks go, why do I have to join this organization anyway? You got to have insurance, you got coverage and all these. Give them another reason. Show compassion.
Yep. All right. On that note, Gerry, what are we going to talk about next episode?
We're going to continue along in this training methodology on why we're doing what we're doing, how important it is. Go more into this. Let's open up the talk in the gray zone, because this is a thing. These athletes feel it. It's almost black and white, or wherever you want to put the black and white portion. Effort on, effort off, and don't go in the gray zone.
Well, let's talk more on that. So remember, guys, go to CoeurSports.com. Join that charity ride this weekend that benefits our athletes. And thank you for all the support. Thank you for all the love. We appreciate everybody reaching out and giving what they can, sending all the boxes of clothes and everything you're sending to my house. It'll get put to good use. The last thing I'm going to say is these athletes who have lost so much, they don't even realize how much they lost. They're still in such a state of shock. I'll have a conversation and I'll say, go get on your cycling gear, go to the gym and ride the spin bike for an hour. And wait a minute, I don't have any bib shorts. All this stuff that you guys are sending, it's going to come in the good use. So can't thank you enough. So thank you for reaching out. Jared, thanks for another amazing episode. All you guys tuning in on YouTube, thanks for watching. If you guys are watching or listening on a podcast, the audio version, go to the YouTube channel, follow Tower 26, and you can see all the video examples that we use throughout the show. So, Jared, it's been a great one. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
All right, for Gerry Rodriguez, Jim Binsky, the Tower 26 Be Race Ready podcast. Later, guys. All right, we are logging off, but the OBS is not doing it. So we will see you guys on the next episode. However, I can get out of this, Jared.